Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And welcome everybody to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast again. I am so grateful to be with you today. Today, I'm going to be talking about Jesus as a spiritual rock star for these times. And not just in terms of, Jesus's energy and his guidance here for us during this time. That's part of it. But also to take a look at what would it be like if Jesus were here during these times. I mean, I know some of you probably have the idea or the possibility that, as the Bible seems to point to, and what many people believe, is that he comes back to earth during this time as part of the, these times. So I'll just put it briefly like that, and we'll dive in from there. But what would it be like if he were here, not as part of the narrative of what we've been told these times would be and how he would come back, but what if he came back to just be of support, just to be of help, just to be an example or a leader for these times? What would that be like? And therefore, perhaps what are some clues or some inferences we can take from that for our own lives, our own leadership in the world, and being our own spiritual rock stars? And what is a spiritual rock star? We'll even touch on that more today. All right, so let's get right into it. Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate, Make Money meditation today. Okay, so Jesus as spiritual rock star. Wow. So we have Jesus Christ superstar. We have that whole thing that happened. And those of you that are a little bit, I'm not like real old, but I'm in my 50s now, guys, even though some people think I'm in my 40s or even 30s sometimes. But, when I grew up, that was always a big thing. Like Jesus Christ Superstar, what is it, musical they call it, is on TV again, the movie musical. And I never really got into it. I never really watched it much because I guess it's because of the purity of the original story. Like, me want to stay immersed in that. Like, I never saw the Passion of the Christ. I've never seen all these other sorts of iterations. And I don't know. I like my own image and my own experience of Jesus and his path and the beautiful teachings that we do get through the Bible in part, that he had. The wonderful things that he shared with us, the examples, the stories, the quotes, all those things. Like, that's where I like to stay focused. And I haven't always been, big with talking about Jesus and doing Jesus stuff. But as I progressed with doing all my work in the world, again, with the Academy for Invincible Healers back in the 2010s, doing that, supporting hundreds of healers around the world in a deeper way with energy scan healing training and all that stuff, energy scan training, and all that happened with that is deeper technique, deeper way, going deeper and really practicing the abilities we have to tune into people, and then gaining clients and gaining confidence and being of a joyful, expanded spirit in a community where others aren't wanting to be stopped. They don't want to stop themselves anymore. They wanted to be invincible. They want to invincibly share their essence with other people. I feel like Jesus is part of that. Like, there's this unstoppability factor, the sense of unstoppability that he represented that. And for me, that's all part of what created Spiritual Rockstar Podcasts. Like, I've done it as a radio show in the past, and always this idea of Spiritual Rockstar started way back in the 2000s when I was just talking to a coach friend of mine. She was actually giving me actual coaching at the time. And I said, I want to I don't know what it was. It's like I just started talking about who I wanted to help or who inspired me or something like that. And I started, like all these spiritual rock stars, like Neil Donald Walsh was big at the time. And I guess he still is, right? He's going to be on this show actually soon. And so many other, names I brought up. It doesn't matter who I said. I said, all these spiritual rock stars. And my coach says, well, wait a minute, that term you just used, spiritual rock star. I'm not sure which coach I actually said this to. I know it was in a coaching session. And I said, oh, yeah, I guess that's an interesting term. Like I tend to do this. I'll come up with terms or ideas that haven't really been ever said or thought before. And I'm acting like it's a thing already. And so it's cool that happened. And what I was really saying is people are playing on this higher level, and they are at a level of spiritual connection and attunement and guidance that flows through their life and directs their life and their business and how they serve in the world. And that's who I look to bring onto this show, obviously, the examples of that it's about that. It's about being in that deeper connection. It's always about that with me. It's always about that. I think like for some people, when I talk about, Jesus, and we're going to get into the meat of it here soon, but I would preface like energy with Jesus. I think sometimes people look at the energy of Jesus as the energy we see of him on a cross and dying and suffering and all this sort of thing. But that's not really what I'm pointing to the most, when I'm talking about Jesus as spiritual rock star. Spiritual rock star, to me, his leadership, his willingness to speak up, but also my experience with him, knowing that I've spent time with him and I literally was there with him during that time. And I've visited with him back in those scenes again, walked with him again, because I want to know really how Jesus was. And Jesus was a very attractive person, one of those like, wow, like figures. And at least that's how it comes through when I revisit. And he was cool. He was a cool guy. That's how I want to put it. And he had a strength and but he also had a fun, playful, childlike spirit within him at the same time. He had both. He had all of that going on. So we need to remember the play of Jesus as well. Again, I'm not the greatest at pulling all the quotes, but there's the whole, I don't know if Jesus said it or who said it, I have to double check, but, you will enter heaven with, by being childlike. Like that whole idea is directly also within the Bible. And I believe, that is something that Jesus has talked about. Like, you won't enter the kingdom of heaven unless you become like a child, And so that is a huge piece that is so important to me, because I know like that liberation of that inner child and brings us into a place where we can be like Jesus, which I talk about, and I do offer service around helping people to become like Jesus through a program I deliver, all that stuff. For today, I just wanted to just say, to be like Jesus means to be in a place of lightness and joy and fulfillment, knowing, yes, if I really needed to, give my life for the greater good of all, I would do that, like I would be game for it, knowing that ultimately I'm invincible. I am eternal anyway. So in a way, ultimately doesn't matter. And yes, we're going to run into challenges and suffering, and those things happen, but can we do it in a way where we still have a joyful, triumphant spirit, and we move through those dense energies more quickly? And I believe, getting to the question I started the show with, if Jesus was here in the flesh, just leading, again, not all the apocalyptic kind of stories about Jesus coming back at this time. If he were in today's world and he had been born and come into this world in the physical, which some people probably will message me and say they know the person who it is. And it's always a different person. So, which is interesting too. And, that so many of us we're, somebody in a past life, and there's multiple people. It's a whole nother episode we could get into. But if he were in this life now, he were walking here with us, what would he do with the access to social media and the internet and everything? Would he be like a social media like superstar, be doing all kinds of sizzle reels and whatever, I don't know, reels and hooky things, or just to get our attention? Or would he be a little bit more in the vein of another person I talk a lot about, of Eckhart? Yes, his team puts him all over the place on social media, but he's not really, as far as I can tell, like a big marketer at all, right? He's just being Eckhart. He's just sharing his teaching. He's just in his zone doing his thing, right? So what would he do? What would he have to say? So how would he market himself? How would he share himself? I don't know, but like, I channel Jesus. It's part of my gift and my ability to bring his energy forth to connect us and deepen us in our sacred heart, to awaken us and to bring on the capacities we have to be awake first and foremost, and then to navigate our path from that space, and also to online our natural capacities to see miracles in our life. I believe, we would still see him likely, sharing, I'm sure, people capturing him doing things and teaching things and putting him online. I would think it'd probably be a little closer to something like Eckhart. Like, he directly probably would not be sharing a ton of things online. He like, okay, here I am, blah, 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 right? I just really doubt that. I don't think, because he actually was one that it seems to me, based on the Bible and my vibe of tuning in, which is usually pretty accurate, or very accurate in many cases, extremely accurate, is that he would probably want a lot of inward time, a lot of retreat time, and then he would show up in big ways like he did, he seemed to do, often in his lifetime. Sometimes I'm sure he's really booked in, like, but yeah, I mean, now he got paid in a different way. He had donors and whatnot, right? Rich people to support his work and to take care of him, feed him, and give him what, financial support that he may need as he traveled town to town and went and spoke and did healing and gathered people. So now that's still a possibility. That, well, would he do it that way now, or would he have I've got a $10,000 program, and then I have all the book, and I got this and that. It's interesting. It's interesting contemplation to consider what his leadership would be. I think if he saw what was going on during these times, he'd be a kind of a butt kicking, truth teller of things, and because that's who he was back then. With the people in the church that were there, the money changers or whatever they call them, like, kicking over the tables and all that. Get out of this church, like, he would be strong. He would be strong. He would speak up. So my point is, I think sometimes we get into the heart of Jesus and we're like, well, we talk about being spiritual and spiritual rock stars. It's all about just love and joy and freedom, and we don't need to be about these worldly issues. Well, I don't know that that's how Jesus was at all, from everything that we can perceive about him and we've read about him through the stories in the Bible. I think it'd be just the opposite. He would be like, this is, he'd be speaking out on all those things. He'd be speaking out on all those things, and probably somebody be filming him and he'd be talking or something, like, but himself doing like his own like selfies or stuff. It's a fun idea to think about. But as spiritual rock star, I think he'd be talking out about those things, and he'd say, no, maybe you would say something, I don't know, but maybe you'd say something like, now let us pray, and let's know the truth in a deeper sense, right? And transmit attunements and healing and upliftment for humanity. And so we all can do that. I don't care what kind of work you do, but we all have the ability to speak up, speak the truths that we feel we're meant to speak up on behalf of, or we're here to speak up. And one of his big ones was the people that were thrown away in society, and speak out on those things. But what are your things to be like Jesus, to come out as a spiritual rock star, to speak up on issues that matter to you, not out of, sometimes out of a sense of anger, perhaps, but ultimately to bring people into awakening and love. And sometimes, we got to show up in different ways to make that bigger impact and impression that we need to in people's awareness and in their minds. And so when you feel like being fierce, just remember, Jesus was fierce too. When you feel like you just want to be that softness and just let everything be, Jesus was like that. When you want to transmit healing and uplift people, Jesus was like that, right? So when you have a human moment and you question everything, Jesus was like that, right? That's all of these things are being like Jesus. When you want to be playful and just, allow yourself to be pampered, Jesus was like that. Remember, with the perfume on his feet, and they're like, what are you wasting all this money for? And he's, whatever he said exactly, but we could get into it. But basically he's like, what, I'm not worth it? Come on. Yeah. So even he had that, right? So this idea of it's all service, it's all selfless, and that's what Jesus was like. No, I mean, we've got examples where that wasn't the truth. That isn't the truth of Jesus. So there's fallacies about Jesus and his life. There's so much, we don't have, even if we had all the written records, there's always the interpretation of who Jesus was and how he walked the earth. So during these times, I would just say, like, without getting into specific issues, I haven't, who knows what he might say. I could channel him and maybe find out. He would be speaking out. He would be doing that, bringing people into prayer and bringing energy, healing and instant healings to people. All the things, performing miracles to help people wake up. And he would be saying again, these things and greater you shall do. And so the way it's presented to us, these things and greater you shall do, and I always keep it short that way. I know, like, that may not be the literal way he said it according to the Bible, but that's the ultimate meaning, right? Is like, these things and greater you shall do. What I wish would be added into that, these things are greater you shall do now. Like, rather, because otherwise it's like, oh, someday we'll get there, right? Like, these things are greater you shall do now, because you have the capacities to allow those things to happen now. You want to raise people from the dead, believe it or not, yeah, the capacity lies within ourselves as a demonstration. You want to feed the 5,000 with a few loaves of bread and some fish, a few fish or whatever, yes, we have the ability to do that. They were all satisfied. There's so many ways you can interpret that story. They're all satisfied. Nobody walked away hungry, right? Why is that? Maybe they just got a little piece and that's all they needed. Maybe somehow they just kept multiplying the fish, right? We don't know. It's a mystery. And that's how these great spiritual stories are told, is where we can't figure it out with our mind, because there is a place that we're being brought into that's beyond all that. That is the magical sphere where we're in the quantum realm, and like everything is available, any experience is available. And so that's what we want to represent at this time. And Jesus is an example of that. So without me going on and on about it, who knows? But it's an interesting question. It's one I wanted to bring up today as an interesting topic to talk about today. And so the action step for you that I ask myself to take an action on, and also to ask you to take an action on, is to, contemplate if you resonate with Jesus at all. What characteristic that I talked about today, the playfulness, the childlike wonder, the fierceness, the miracle sphere, manifestation, instant healings, raising people from the dead, whatever. It's a miracle sphere one. So basically the five, or six, maybe like so many, but the Sacred Heart, pointing into the Sacred Heart, all the spiritual teachings he brought, Jesus as spiritual teacher. What aspect do you, even if it's just one, maybe even better if it's just one, what one aspect of Jesus would you like to embody more of, to be more like Jesus? Because most people, even if they're not totally into Jesus, even if you're not totally into Jesus energy, like a big fan, so to speak, or whatever, a true believer, or, dedicated to the energy of Jesus and all those sorts of things, it's okay. It's just, my guess is it has been an inspiration to you. And being inspired by him, when you consider all the facets of Jesus, what's the one that speaks to you to embody the most right now? What's the one? Is it his boldness? Is it the speaking up? Is it the honoring your divine gifts and utilizing them for healing, miracle sphere manifestations? I mean, there's so many things I mentioned, right? So, or maybe it's something else I haven't even brought up that comes to your awareness. You're like, I want to be more like Jesus in that way. I want to, because that's just because it's inspiring to me. So I would like to be like that. Maybe it is the sense of devotion and commitment and surrender. Because he was surrendered to his path ultimately. I mean, hey, whatever is going to serve the highest, whatever it is, like, say yes to that today. Maybe put it down into, it helps us. I think we get an idea of Jesus, like, he didn't write down his goals, probably. He didn't have to organize his calendar. But in today's day and age, would he have a calendar? Like, even that idea, like, would he have a schedule, or would he just, get up and just do whatever? I mean, like, whatever he was guided to in the moment. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm guessing he would be a little bit more, I don't know how he was even back then, but he probably would use modern day tools to do a little bit of, getting grounded in the physical with a schedule and whatnot. He might write some things down, I'm sure. So what will you write down? What will you commit to? What will you maybe even schedule, actions you could take that will align you with being more like Jesus right now, over this next day, week, month, year? What will you do? And let me know. Wherever you are, if you're able to make comments below, let me know what it would be for you. And I'm just curious. I'd be curious to know, if I hear from a number of you, hopefully, what's the most common comments I'm hearing, like, or what are some of the things people are saying? So I'm grateful to hear from you either way. And yeah, I mean, whatever role the energy of Jesus might play in your life is perfect, even if it's just as an inspiration. If you want to go a lot deeper, of course, with that energy, just keep tuning in here and elsewhere, and take advantage of other calls I offer. If you go to yoursacredpurpose.com, I'll do a quick plug. Get on my email list, get your meditate and make money meditation. You get on my email list, you'll see ongoing notifications for things that I'm doing that you're not going to see on this platform, wherever you're listening to me, on a regular basis at all. Necessarily, I mean, like, every single thing, right? So you'll get, email reminders about what's coming up overall with the podcast and podcasts, because I have multiple ones, and also with Jesus and more. So, all right. So I'd like to end today with perhaps some prayer, maybe a channeled message or two from Jesus, and that'll be the podcast for today. All right. So if you'll join me, first, just take a nice, deep, conscious breath. Just take a nice, deep breath and exhale. Okay. Now take another deep breath deepen through your nose, all the way up through your crown chakra, up through your higher self, up to love, light source, energy, up into the all in all. And then slowly exhale through your mouth. Let this energy come back down through your higher self, down through your crown chakra, down through all your chakras, through your physical body, through your field, down through your feet, down through your root chakra, down to the core of the earth. As I speak these words in the I am for everyone to listen to my voice, as I recognize God, love, life, source, spirit is all there is. I'm grateful that life is here to provide me with a burst of inspiration and joy and fulfillment right here and right now, that I can live perpetually in a deeper divine connection with the flow of energy that I'm inspired into right now, knowing that there is a greater vibrancy, vitality, energy, and joy that can be experienced through me as the expansion of consciousness that wants to happen through me. It wants to be shared as the illumination within the collective consciousness simultaneously. As I step into those aspects of that I'm inspired by, that came through today overall and through Jesus, I'm grateful to say yes to those qualities and know, yes, these things in greater I shall do, that we all shall do. And I'm grateful to say yes to that today. Know that from that place, I get to live a more miracle zone, magical life, living from deeper connection from the sacred hearts, from deeper divine connection, allow myself to rocket here and in what is the unlimited opportunities that live within me. That is the free world that lives within me. It's a free world. It's a sovereign world that lives within me, that manifests itself fully into the physicalized life. As I speak up and I show up fully and lead the way in the way I am called to on the planet at this time. And so I'm grateful in advance that I'm already saying yes to that. I'm already seeing the good results of the shifts that are happening in the world for my tribes or tribe that I serve, and so many others that I'm here to support and inspire and to bless. And I'm grateful right now as Master Jesus gives us a message briefly. In these deeper waters, there is a key within your hearts. To be in deeper regard and rapport with the divine, deeper reverence, submitting yourself to the depth of the love that lives through you as you. As you become one with it, you're coming back home. Coming back home into magical land that's given to you freely, now and always. Thank you. So we give thanks for this inspired message. It's channeled through me from the energy of Jesus. And we're grateful for all the fruits that are unfolding into our lives, knowing that as we fast from the negativity, the news, the rumors of war, and the actual so-called war that's going on, that we're see beyond the illusions, the hate, the division that seems to exist in our world. And we see it now as a call for more presence and more love and more healing in the world, of expanded consciousness that wants to happen for those that are willing to receive it. And I'm grateful to pray and know that so many more are now ready to receive this. And so I'm grateful for that, knowing that as I allow myself to be at peace with whatever is unfolding in my life and in the collective life of other humans on the planet, that I get in sync with the universe and the multiverse and beyond, all dimensions, space and time, reality. I'm here to be delighted by the divine in all that is the real truth that's unfolding, that is within all life. And that as I see it, as I witness it, I can experience bringing miracles and opportunities for everything to shift in any given scene, in any given moment, as a demonstration of the truth of who we are, rather than the lies and the illusions. So I'm grateful in advance to experience this again in my own life and in the collective life, increasingly so, and letting it be done. Thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. Okay. All right. Always so grateful to share with you all. And as you're coming back, perhaps if you had your eyes closed, I'll just say, God bless everyone. We are blessed for that oneness with God, and yet there's a deeper reverence and respect for the divine itself that we are being called into through that prayer. That it can be fun, it can be expanded. We can experience the wonders of this sense of this world here at a whole nother level by giving ourselves fully to the presence within, the deeper presence. All my love to you. And as I always say, keep on tuning in and we'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time, everyone. The Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.